The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for waking up with us here at 5 a.m. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher on this Friday, Junior.
All right, Elena, thanks so much. And we begin this morning with your 17 Crime Watch and one of the fastest growing problems in Kern County. Kias and Hyundais are getting stolen off our streets on a daily basis. It's already happened more than 500 times so far this year in Bakersfield alone, including half a dozen times in a single day earlier this week. 17 Cecilia Trevino has more on what owners can do to protect their cars.
Kias and Hyundais, the hottest cars for theft in Bakersfield. Just this year, over 300 Hyundais and 200 Kias stolen in the city. Earlier this week, we showed you the latest twist in this ongoing trend. Teenage car thieves driving newly stolen Kias and Hyundais a demolition derby style in a Bakersfield neighborhood as horrified homeowners looked on.
There has been an increase in Kias and Hyundais being stolen.
These are older models. New Kias and Hyundais have improved security and are not especially vulnerable to theft. In the latest reports, in just 24 hours, owners shared on social media their older Hyundais or Kias had been stolen, and no end in sight for these thefts.
With these type of cars, it's not per se these cars are being taken to be sold or they're at chop shops. We typically see these cars, if they're stolen, they are just abandoned in several areas of the city, so it's not really a specific area.
This video taken on Halloween at Roberts Lane and Oildale Drive.
Sheriff's coming after them. Oh, they're about to kill boys. Gonna get got.
And we have seen, minors, underage kids that are not, have license are being typically contacted in these cars and arrested.
A recall in place for older models of Hyundais and Kias to get anti-theft software updates. Aside from the recall, police recommends you turn to additional safety measures, one of them being the traditional steering wheel lock.
Aftermarket alarm systems on your vehicles. If you can put a club on your car, you want to make that car as hard as you can for someone not to come in and steal it.
If you are a victim of this crime and have surveillance video, police ask you share it with them to help the investigation. Cecilia Trevino, 17 News.
A Bakersfield man received quite a shock after seeing a movie at Reading Cinemas at the Valley Plaza Mall.
Then I come out around 11:20 p.m. when the film's over, and what do I see? Two of my wheels, driver's side, missing.
This was the moment Stefan Trujillo realized that two of the wheels on his car were gone. He says more needs to be done to protect mall goers.
I think my biggest concern right now, though, is the mall security. To me, it's very obvious that the theater areas where you should be kind of keeping a closer eye on things, you got people in the theater for hours. Obviously, these vehicles are going to sit there unoccupied. So I feel like they really felt that night,
We contacted the Valley Plaza Mall. Representatives told us to call their corporate office. As of news time, we've not heard back. Trujillo says his car had to be towed and there was damage to the side skirt. He did report the theft to Valley Plaza Security and says BPD's investigating and looking into whether there is security footage. Luckily, insurance is taking care of the claim, but he wants to warn other drivers to be mindful.
A Bakersfield man accused of operating an illegal gun club is under arrest this morning, and investigators say he is responsible for putting dozens of guns in the wrong hands. This investigation started back in 2021 when Fresno law enforcement traced guns used in crimes back to Joshua Kimball. They say he ran the illegal gun club inside his store, Show Off Sports, at the intersection of Renfro and Hagman Roads in northwest Bakersfield. While undercover, officers say they were told they could join the gun club and were able to buy guns without going through background checks, fees, applications, or waiting periods, all required by the state. The Fresno police chief says this arrest will make the streets safer.
Plain and simple is that the fewer guns in the hands of criminals is going to make our community safer, and that's basically one of the fundamental philosophies of what this team is doing. Of what gun crime or crime gun intelligence does is leveraging technology to help us to solve some of these crimes.
Over the course of that investigation, officers say they were able to trace 103 guns to Kimball. At least one of them was used in a homicide, and if convicted, he could face up to 30 years in prison.
Hello, this is Tim Callahan with Clinica Sierra Vista, and we're excited to unveil the Community Health Center of the Future, our comprehensive care center. It's located right across the street from Memorial Hospital. We have every service under one roof, from family medicine, OBGYN care, dental services for adults and children, behavioral health, and much more. So find your way to better care at Clinica Sierra Vista this year at our comprehensive care center. Visit our website, clinicasierravista.org, for the latest on this project. We'll see you soon.
Now turning to our coverage of the Israel-Hamas war, more people are being allowed to leave Gaza today after a key border crossing opened. You're taking a look. We're going to show you that in just a moment. Meantime, Secretary of State Antony Blinken heads back to the Middle East today to show continued U.S. support for Israel. All of this coming as the Senate and House continue grappling with funding to help Israel and Ukraine. NBC's Chris Pallone has the latest from Washington.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken heads to Israel today. Earlier this week, Blinken called for humanitarian pauses in fighting to allow aid into Gaza. President Biden in Minnesota endorsed a pause to allow more time for prisoners to get out when a protester interrupted him.
Mr. President, if you care about Jewish people as a rabbi, I need you to call for a ceasefire right now.
Earlier, the president praised negotiations which led to foreign nationals and injured Palestinians leaving Gaza for the first time since the war began.
American citizens are able to exit today as part of the first group of probably over 1,000. We'll see more of this process going on in the coming days.
Israel is facing mounting criticism after bombing a Gaza refugee camp for the second straight day. The Israelis say they were targeting a Hamas command center and killed a top commander.
It is Hamas that is preventing many people from leaving their homes, from leaving Gaza.
On Capitol Hill, debate over how best to provide aid to Israel and Ukraine. House Republicans are considering a bill for Israel only, paired with cuts to the IRS. The Congressional Budget Office says that would add more than $26 billion to the budget deficit.
Only in Washington, when you cut spending, do they call it an increase in the deficit.
But in the Senate, Democrats say any aid bill without funding to help Ukraine is dead on arrival.
I'm alarmed and appalled that we're at this point when Ukraine is at a critical, absolutely vital point in survival.
A House vote on the Israel-only aid package is expected today. The UN Human Rights Office says that it has serious concerns that Israel's attacks on the Gaza refugee camp could, in its words, amount to war crimes. Israel insists it is targeting Hamas fighters who are using civilians as human shields. In Washington, Chris Pallone, NBC News.
Meantime, members of a local synagogue are busy helping in Israel. Rabbi Jonathan Klein and Temple Bethel President Avital Anders left on Sunday from Bakersfield, and they're now in Israel on a humanitarian mission to help ease the suffering of those caught in the crossfire. Anders sent us this video, and they told us they spent the day picking lettuce on an organic farm that typically has a large workforce. She tells us the farm now relies heavily on volunteers to pick those crops and save their business since the war began. And the war has prevented the 20,000 Gazans who would enter Israel daily from working. Rabbi Klein says they were in hearing range of Israeli missiles that were being launched into Gaza. Through vigils and fundraising, Temple Bethel has raised $27,000 for humanitarian relief efforts in Israel so far.
And they're still asking for donations. To do that, you can scan this QR code that's on your screen right now. Those donations will go to Temple Bethel for humanitarian relief efforts in Israel.
And we are scheduled to talk to them live later this morning in about an hour. Of course, there could be some hiccups, of course, because we're dealing with internet connections in Israel. But our best shot coming up in an hour to talk to them live.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.